Hey! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ready to explore culture, beliefs, and trends? Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to Bridging the Gap. I am your host, Marilyn, and I will be a rising sophomore at Columbia University. So I'm a pre-medical student with an array of interests which include Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so kicking some behind, yoga to help me find my zen, and dance for fun. Thank you for tuning in today. Our guest interviewee is an immigrant who surmounted a near failure and almost lost his way. He is now blazing the path for minorities. He overcame adversity and created a non-profit mentorship program dedicated to helping minority groups. He is now a pre-medical student at Columbia University. Welcome, and let's listen to this visionary and brilliant mind. Thank you for joining us today, Ikenna. Tell us about yourself and where you're from.
First off, thank you for having me. My name is Ikenna Nebo. I'm a rising junior at Columbia University, pre-med student. I'm from Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria. Spent the first couple years of my life there. I came here when I was really young, about let's say 3 or 4. I came to the United States where I spent most of my life living in the Bronx. My family and I, we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx for the greater part of my life. We moved. We now live in Long Island, and that's just a brief background of me. I've had the luxury, not the luxury, but I guess I've had the opportunity to live in different places, see different things, and it's all played a role in who I've become and who I'm trying to be as a person.
Great. So you created a nonprofit mentorship program called YOUCANTOO. Tell us about the program and what gave you the vision and inspiration to create it. What steps did you take to bring your vision into fruition?
Yeah, absolutely. I created a nonprofit organization called YOUCANTOO Mentorship Program. We now go by YOUCANTOO Incorporated ever since we registered our program officially. I believe the backstory for YOUCANTOO goes way beyond the origin date, which is July 23rd, 2019. Growing up, I was a smart kid, but I was also a very rebellious kid. I was a kid who wanted everything to go his way, and I was just very, I guess, to use one of my teacher's terms, they called me a nightmare to teach because I did everything I had to do academically, but when it came to my classroom behavior, you couldn't reconcile my classroom behavior with my academic performance. So I was just teeter-tottering every year to being expelled from my elementary school. My teachers were always complaining about me. However, there was this one, during my 5th grade, there was this one professor. Her name is Miss Cheryl Span. One day she sat in on one of my classes and she saw, what all the teachers have been complaining about, my behavior. But then she looked at my academic profile and she saw that, I was a kid who had a lot of potential. Not to say that if you're not academically strong, you don't have a lot of potential. That's not what I'm saying at all. But she saw what similar to what I just said, a kid who behaved like I was behaving. She was very confused as to how I was also balancing that with my academic performance. So she pulled me aside one day and we had a conversation. And she basically told me that I have the potential to do really great things if I really put my mind to it and really, grow out of this behavior I was exhibiting and really focus on doing well in my community, doing well academically. She said, and I'll use her words, she said, "I won't let you get in your own way." After we had that conversation, Miss Span became my mentor. She followed me around, making sure I did all my homework. She would watch as I interacted with other students, making sure to pull me aside every time I stepped out of pocket, be it with my interactions with students or with faculty. And she just mentored me through life. When I was in high school, my senior year of high school, in order to graduate, we had to do community service. And I didn't really know how to go about doing that. So one of my friends was like, "You could come do community service at my site." And he was working at a middle school. I went to do the community service with him there. And I worked with primarily Black kids. It was a Black middle school in Harlem. And I just fell in love with it. And it reminded me of my relationship with Miss Span because as I was mentoring them, they were looking to me and the same way I looked at Miss Span. And, that got my gears turning, and I ended up pioneering YOUCANTOO at that middle school, where I did my community service in high school. just having that experience with Miss Span, having this community service aspect in high school really gave me the inspiration for YOUCANTOO. When it came down to establishing the organization, I fleshed out the ideas and stuff like that. And then I asked my friend TK, or Tiki Danke is her full name, to just help me run it. She's the vice president. And since then, we've been just growing at an amazing rate and helping hundreds of students.
Yeah, amazing. So how has the YOUCANTOO program impacted schools in the New York City area, and what impact has it had on minority groups?
Like you said, YOUCANTOO, we operate in exclusively, for at least for now, minority communities. We go into minority schools. And the reason I feel like my organization is unique from other, I guess, academic support organizations is because we do more than that. Our mentors are invested in not only the academic excellence of our mentees, but in making sure that our mentees develop as human beings, which is why a key aspect of YOUCANTOO is themed conversations. In addition to the academic support we provide our mentees, we every week will have a conversation with them about race, about politics, about navigating a world that is built against them, and steps they can take to succeed in that environment. And we've just seen tremendous growth in all of our mentees, be it academic. After our first year, we had an average academic increase of like 5% from all of our mentees, which was amazing. The teachers will always come to us like, so-and-so got 100 on his exam. He's never done that before. So-and-so did this or that. So-and-so is top of his class now. And just hearing that feedback shows us that what we're doing is working. And on top of that, our mentees are now much more politically tuned in and much more self-aware. They understand that, yes, I am Black, and yes, I'm living in these circumstances. However, these circumstances will not define me. If I take these certain steps, if I have this knowledge, there's things that I can do to better my circumstances, better myself, and better my community. So in terms of impact we've had on minority communities, we've equipped our youth with the knowledge they need to be successful, be it academically, be it personally, be it in any aspect that they choose to pursue. We've given them knowledge that we had to find ourselves as the mentors, and given it to them up front. You don't have to look for the key to success. Here are some things that we had to find out for ourselves, and it's paid dividends. The teachers have called YOUCANTOO transformational, and because of how successful we've been, we've gained a lot of credibility, which is why we're growing and entering schools in Boston, schools in Providence, Rhode Island, I'm sorry, and things like that. Our main goal is to equip our youth with those tools they need.
Phenomenal. So that was actually going to be my next question. So you've expanded this mentorship program beyond the New York City area. So tell us about the expansion process and why you decided to bring this program to other states and not just New York.
When I first started YOUCANTOO, my main goal was to keep it an exclusively New York program. I grew up in New York City. I went to school in New York City, in Manhattan. So I wanted to reach as many New York youth as possible. And that is still a big part of my goal as the president of YOUCANTOO. However, the reason I chose to expand YOUCANTOO outside of the New York City area is because of how many times high school students who will maybe like follow my Instagram page or follow YOUCANTOO would just message me like, hey, can I get a mentor? Is there a branch at my school? Is there any way someone can work with us? And it just got me thinking that New York City, I've lived in New York City so much that sometimes I forget that we are one of 50 states. New York City is not a state, but you know what I mean? Like, we're just part of a huge country that is full of Black kids who need guidance. And maybe if they don't need it, they would just like someone to talk to, Hearing the feedback I got from high school students, hearing the feedback I got from Black college students who were like, I want to do this as well, but I don't live in New York City. How do I become a part of this? It really got my gears turning. I realized that, yes, New York is important to me, and I'm still doing a lot of work in New York, but the community spans far beyond New York City, far beyond the United States. And our goal as an organization is to get YOUCANTOO into as many colleges as possible and work with as many students as possible, because that way we get, like I said, the youth get the tools they need to succeed. We're trying to equip our futures here.
What impact do you hope this program has long term?
The impact I hope YOUCANTOO has is to maybe one day a student will be in a classroom and look around and he or she won't be the only person of color in that classroom. Or not even in the classroom, because our work spans beyond academics. You will be in any sort of field, any sort of usually white dominated field, and you look around and you see black faces upon black faces. When you turn on the news, and instead of seeing the news that we normally receive about black people, which is every time we mess up or every time we find ourselves in unfortunate circumstances, you will turn on the news and you'll see so and so just won the Nobel, or so and so just opened an art gallery, or so and so just bought a house, or so and so just did that. We're trying to put it simply, representation matters. And the more we equip ourselves with these tools, the more ready we are to enter spaces that were usually not meant for us. I have the blessing of going to Columbia University, right? And I would not be here if somebody hadn't equipped me with the tools I need to navigate the world. And there are so many kids who don't even, like, forget Columbia right now. There's so many kids who don't have the tools to just advance past their current circumstances. So YOUCANTOO is trying to be that organization that says, here, this is what we feel you guys should use to surmount the obstacles society has placed in the school systems, in the police system, in the housing system. We're here to give you this knowledge, and maybe one day, by the grace of God, by the hard work we're ready to put in, we'll live in a world where we look around and everywhere we turn, there is a black face, there is a person of color, there is a success story. And yeah, that's just our goal. That's just the impact, to increase our ability to access the world and navigate it effectively.
Well said. Lastly, are you working on any projects this summer?
Yeah, actually, YOUCANTOO related. We actually just finished right before I had this conversation with you. I actually put on my organization and the City College NAACP put on a seminar for the high school students of Democracy Prep High School, which is a high school in Harlem. And there were over 100 students in the Zoom seminar. And we talked about race. We talked about the unfortunate deaths of so many black men and women. Most recently, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and just countless others who have been killed at the hands of police, at the hands of black people, and at the hands of white people. I'm sorry. So we talked to them about that, and like I said, we equipped them with the knowledge they need to navigate that. We talked to them about mental health, because as black people, having to see our faces constantly being violated, having to see our rights constantly being violated and being killed, it's destructive on the psyche. So, and we're the only race that's asked to see all that and still be okay, So we told the kids, it's okay to be mad, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be, fragile. And here are ways you can navigate that fragility, you can navigate that frustration. We gave them links to influencers and organizations that are combating this racism. And most importantly, we gave them a platform to speak. We almost had to cut the session short because there were so many kids who had so much to say. We had countless inputs from the kids, talking about their experiences in their schools, in life, with police. We just had an amazing conversation with these kids, and hearing them was just a blessing, and it was such a privilege to hear the youth and what they had to say. And they just felt heard. As black people, there's not a lot of places where we can speak and be heard, and not just heard like, oh, you heard what I'm saying, but heard like you're actively engaging with my plight. I'm speaking and it's not falling on deaf ears. You actively want to acknowledge what I'm going through, and we gave them that opportunity to have their plight be heard and have it be engaged with. In terms of future, we're hoping to adopt a virtual aspect to YOUCANTOO, where we can, maybe, because on my campus especially, there's a lot of people who want to become mentors, but their schedules don't work well with YOUCANTOO's schedule, and we work predominantly on Fridays and Saturdays. And especially if you're a student athlete, those are the days you'll be at practice or at a game. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to adopt this virtual aspect where you can sign up to be a mentor, and we'll give you a mentee who goes to school in your area, but you guys will correspond predominantly through FaceTime, Zoom, things like that, so that you can still have that experience and you may not have to make the time commitment of going in person. And every mentor who we take on this platform will still be screened and still be given the YOUCANTOO rundown, but the platform will be a lot more flexible. We're working on t-shirts right now to raise money, not only for our organization, but for families who've been impacted by racial injustice recently. We have an amazing team working on that, from our social media departments or creative department, creating designs for these t-shirts. So that's going to roll out soon. We're also trying to do virtual graduations for the high schools in Harlem for their seniors who didn't get an opportunity to walk down and receive their diploma the normal way. So in addition to a lot of expansion, ever since we dropped the website, there've been a bunch of people who went on the website and have filled out the form to create a branch at their school. So we're currently working with those individuals now to get their branches off the ground and find middle schools and high schools in their area to partner with. So our organization is growing very rapidly, innovating, which I'm so happy to see, finding new ways to accommodate the times and accommodate the needs of the communities we're working with. And I'm just excited to see where we go. As president, though I'm very hands-on, I also let my teammates do a lot of the innovating and seeing how they flesh things out themselves. And I'm just so blessed to be part of this team. And I know we're doing a lot of amazing things coming up.
You're doing phenomenal work, Ikenna. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been an amazing experience, and I wish you and your podcast the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you. I wish you well as well. Stay tuned for future podcast audios and don't forget to subscribe. Join me on this journey of bridging the gap in hopes of learning and growing with one another. Peace.